Hop aboard the TARDIS and set your coordinates for WHOLanta, Atlanta's premier Doctor Who convention, May 5th through the 7th at the Marriott Atlanta Century Center. Meet 6th Doctor Colin Baker, Perry Brown, actress Nicola Bryant, Jackie Tyler, actress Camille Kuduri, scriptwriter Jamie Matheson, artists Kelly Gates and Mark Maddox, representatives from Retro TV, authors, podcasters, and more. There will be discussion panels, Q&As, a cabaret, a masquerade, live music, Dance of the Orient Express, a dealer's room, kids' activities, and fun for the whole family. For more information, go to WHOLanta.com. WHOLanta 2017. Don't miss it.
Hello.
Yeah.
We were just admiring your garden.
Yes.
Moving on now, because there's nothing of particular interest here. Cheerio.
If he's chasing us, he's moving very slowly.
Do you know what it means when something chases you very slowly?
What?
It means there's a reason that they don't have to run.
Welcome back, everyone. This is episode number 43. We are reviewing, once again, Doctor Who, and this is Discussing Who. I'm Kyle Jones. Make sure I don't forget who I am and say who I am. And tonight we have brought back someone who looks to be a regular contributor to our Discussing Doctor Who theme that we've got going on, especially during Series 10. So we want to welcome back our very own alternate world version of River Song, Angie Meadows. Hey, Angie.
Hey, it's great to be back.
See, now you were supposed to say, hello, sweetie. So let's try that again.
Sweetie.
There you go. Welcome back. Glad that you are here, and glad that you came back on with us.
It's good to be here. Hello, sweetie.
See.
There we go.
All right, so you're going to get a chance in just a minute to redeem yourself, and you will know when I mean in just a moment. So tell me, what have you been up to? Any trips in your TARDIS lately, or anything like that?
Well, we're getting ready for a trip to Southern Geek Fest, so coming up in May. So we're pretty excited about that.
Having you on tonight, I actually probably expect to hear the TARDIS while you're on, and I wouldn't be surprised if we don't hear it.
Oh, it's going to be great.
So now tell me, what are you doing another version of River, or what are you doing other than taking the TARDIS?
I've actually got two versions lined up for that day. For Saturday, I think we're doing... I'm going to be doing, Sunday is going to be Impossible Astronaut River. Saturday is going to be Time of Angels River with the black dress. So that's going to be
cool.
Fun. Yeah,
cool.
So did you guys do Southern Geek Fest last year as well? And I know you told us this.
Yeah, we did. It was a great first year for that con if you guys didn't make it down there, and I highly recommend it. It's just, and the cool thing was there were so many people there in Hattiesburg that had never been to a con, and that was like their first time and their exposure to it. So it was really, I think it was a really good success, and there's some really good people putting it on. So I mean, I highly recommend, everybody getting out there and checking it out.
So from the perspective of, obviously it wasn't a Doctor Who con. So what kind of con would you give Southern Geek Fest for someone that might be listening that says, oh, well, it's not a convention, but it is a convention. So tell us, what could they expect?
Well, I mean, it's just a good overall, it covers, pretty much any, all the fandoms, all come together, which, a lot of the Southern Geek people, if you've ever, which I know you guys are members of the group on Southern Geek on Facebook, but, it's, we saw everybody from, Harry Potter to, Dragon Ball, Captain America, pretty much anything, I mean, it was just, everybody just kind of came together. It was a great, mishmash of, all the fandoms. So it was, and like I said, it's, it's a smaller con, so it's a lot more personal, and, they had some really good guests last year, and I think they've got, some pretty good ones lined up this year. So it should be a good time. We're looking forward to it. We had lots of people. We actually had our Weeping Angel there last year. I don't know if she's going to be there this year, but, she's pretty scary. If you ever get to see her, she does a very, very good interpretation of a weeping angel. I mean, it's pretty real.
So, Angie, I have to ask you: have you heard of this show called Cosplay Melee on Sci-Fi Network?
I've heard about it, but I have not been able to watch it. But I've heard great things about it, and these people, they are serious.
Yes, it's really, really good. And since the last time we spoke with you, I mean, my head has just been going nonstop of like, what can I build, lowly old Clarence? What can he build in the cosplay world? And that show is great. So just a suggestion to you guys out there, if you want to see some of the upper tier people go at it and build stuff that seems like it should be on a movie set or something, definitely check that out, and it give you a lot of ideas, even for people starting. I think because it made my mind kind of turn a little bit on things that I could possibly do. So just fun.
Here's a suggestion, considering the fact that Angie does the cosplay, is once we have finished with the series of Doctor Who and we're not doing the weekly Doctor Who's anymore, because I know you introduced me to that show and I hadn't had a chance to watch it yet, but maybe we could watch a couple of episodes. Angie, you could come back on and give some ideas of what you thought about it, since that's kind of your realm.
Oh yeah, I would love to do that. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Cool.
So let me ask you a question, and I know we are reviewing tonight episode 2, which was Smile. And before you, anyone listening, before we go any further, I want to let everyone know that this is a review, and we're going to be talking about what happened into the story. So, Angie, in your best River song voice, warn people of potential what going forward?
Spoilers.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. Affirmative. Spoilers. Spoilers. Affirmative. Spoilers.
Good deal. So, Angie, back to let's go back to the pilot episode. Can you kind of give me an idea of what you thought? So, tell us about what you thought about the pilot episode.
Well, first of all, that's how you do an opening series episode. That was, I was just overjoyed with just how great it was. That's the episode that we've been looking for in my mind since Capaldi took over. And, that we should have, and it makes me really sad because, this is the last series and he's just getting started. They just tore up the scenery. I loved it. And the chemistry that he and Bill have together, I really enjoyed that. And honestly, it's kind of like, to me, I read an article where they advised Pearl Mackie not to actually watch the episodes.
Really?
Or the previous episodes.
Yeah, I read that too.
And, so that she could kind of experience it as Bill experiences it. So it's really kind of cool to me, the dynamic coming from, you have, the Time Lord, full of wisdom and, 2,000 years old, and you've got the new person, Bill, and then, their counterparts, you have, Peter Capaldi, who's, super fan, and then you have, Pearl Mackie, who is, new to it as well. So it's kind of neat that, they kind of have that dynamic going on. And I think it just really, really came over well, across, on the screen. I really enjoyed that. So
what did you think about the whole story of, the star and the oil or the liquid or whatever? What was your takeaway on
I think
the puddle? Yeah, there you go, the puddle, the space puddle, the space shuttle puddle.
Yeah, the space shuttle puddle. Yeah, I loved it, and I think I made this comment on Facebook about I said, it's Whovians can be afraid of a puddle of water like that, because that's what it looked like, a puddle of water, and it's amazing how the show can do that. And I love the story. I love the overall story. I loved the Office. I think that was my favorite part. I'm sure that probably everybody says that, but the desk and all the Sonics and the pictures of Susan and River. I just really, you can't see that without getting emotional. I mean, that was really, really I just loved it. And to me, I mean, they kind of started out at the beginning, and at the beginning of the next episode that we're going to talk about, they kind of did the same thing. They're really going back to the beginning, to the first Doctor, and they're really kind of foreshadowing back to that. And to me, we've got that rumor floating around that we're going to have David Bradley doing William Hartnell, and in the Christmas episode, supposedly, like I said, that's just a wild rumor, but to me, those little flashes and nods and things like that are kind of they're kind of giving a little momentum to me. So it's kind of like these foreshadowing that. I kind of got that from that, but I mean, overall, I loved it. It really. It's what we've been waiting for.
So, if you were to give it a 1 to 5, what would you give it?
I'd probably give it a 6. I loved it that much.
Really?
I really did. And of course, I'm like everybody else. What is in the basement? That's just really, and which I love a good story arc anyway. So that's going to be kind of neat, to see where that goes. But I just. I want to know what's in the basement, and I want to know why Nardole is so upset about it, or so stressed about it. He's stressed. He's worried about this, whatever this is. I mean, he's really stressing.
So let me ask you, and I've got to pick on Clarence for a moment. So tell me, if you were to compare Capaldi, Clara, Capaldi, Bill. Compare and contrast, and tell me what either worked or didn't work, either with Clara or with Bill or both, or what are your thoughts?
Remember that? Oh gosh, I'm going to get in trouble.
Speak your mind. I won't be offended. I hear it all the time.
We actually have one of our cats named Clara Oswald. So but that I've actually I've been a fan of hers. I've loved Clara, but honestly. And I hate to say this, but she overstayed her welcome, and she really, that whole, her claiming to be the Doctor, and, in the last series, it kind of concentrated more on the Clara show instead of the Doctor, and I'm sorry, but I loved her, but it was past time for her to kind of move on to other things. It really was. But so in that case, I love the chemistry between the two. I really prefer Bill and the Doctor over Clara and Capaldi.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about it before, but by the time the Doctor and the current Doctor and Clara hook up, she's already so ingrained in the world of the Doctor and has this certain bravado about her that she no longer is really a companion. She's kind of on the same level in a lot of ways with the Doctor, and Bill does provide that new freshness and asking all these questions that we want to know. Like you said, it's the first time we've seen that with Capaldi, so I think it's a good change, regardless of how much I love Miss Clara.
All right, so let's get into the actual episode of Smile. And again, if anyone has not seen the episode, put us on pause or save us, download us from whatever you're listening to. Go out, rent it, Amazon, or not rent it, buy it, however you want to watch it, Amazon, iTunes, however, and watch it, come back, and then play again because there are spoilers ahead. So, Smile, we see the Doctor and we see Bill arrive to somewhere in the future. They're actually, coming up to this big. Appears. Go ahead.
Can we back up even before they actually get there? So they are. This episode starts off exactly where the last one left off. They're like in the TARDIS talking, and Bill continues to ask all these questions that we want to know, but in an awkward, slightly weird way. She's asking about the seats, where's the steering wheel, and all this type of things. So, I mean, I like the fact that Bill is there and she's asking these questions that we want to know. And I still find it just so refreshing to see this interaction between her and the doctor. What did you guys think about that opening scene there?
Angie, what do you think?
Oh, I loved it. It's and it was so the things that she said. One of the lines that she said, "Are your arms like Mr. Fantastic?"
Yeah,
I like that.
That was good.
All those cool things. And again, that was more that opening scene. That was kind of he's kind of going back to the first Doctor and everything. I stole it. She's like, how much did you pay for it? He said, well, I stole it. She goes, well, what if I steal it from you? And he's like, well, have a go, I mean, their banter and their back and forth. It's just, I love it. That's like you said, Clarence, it's refreshing. It was much needed.
Yeah.
To kind of, revive it.
Yeah. And I kind of liked, even in that beginning, seeing, Nordal really isn't happy to have her there.
Mama Nordal.
Yeah. It's Mum. Mom's here.
It's Mum. Yeah. Yeah, that was awesome. And the thing that he said about I won't be a slave to humans, that was kind of like, okay, so is he like a slave to the Doctor? I mean, what is he?
Yeah,
what was he trying to say?
Bit of an assistant. And yeah, he also brings up the oath again, which you mentioned earlier, in this whatever the Doctor's doing to protect this vault. And the Doctor actually says something when he actually says kind of a rousing speech about what they're going to do next. I'm trying to quote it if I remember correctly. Between here in my office before the kettle boils is everything that has ever happened or ever will. I thought that was so freaking awesome, and I love that little monologue.
You know where that comes from, don't you?
Oh, that's old?
Yep. It is a redo of the conversation that the 11th Doctor had in the 11th hour with young Amy Pond, talking about everything that ever happens ever will.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that bit right there. It's great.
So let's go back to the field. We see, well, actually, this is pretty much at the very beginning almost. We see the woman in the field and the happy little robot following along, and then they get back in, and it's like, everybody is dead, smile. Everybody is dying, smile. Yeah. Clarence, what did you think of that?
At first I had no idea what to think. But yeah, something bad is going on, and apparently it's tied to your emotions. I thought the first look at the robots were pretty funny because they look kind of like these cute little things, and they turn out to be controlling some savage nanobot looking things, the Verdi, whatever they're called.
The Vardy thing.
Vardy.
Yeah,
yeah.
Vardy,
What did you think about that opening, Angie?
It was kind of funny, but when I saw the robots, I said, oh yeah, these things are evil. You automatically get that, and nothing is that. With the emojis and things like that. Oh yeah, there's no way. And then when the other person, oh, smile, your mom is dead, smile.
Yeah, and, like what?
Yeah, how do you respond to that? And then all of a sudden, the little bot looks like it's been, attacked by the Vashta Narada. So it's like, it's, all the skeleton faces and everything. I was like, oh yeah, that's not good at all.
Yeah.
But it was pretty, it was intense there.
I never got the Vashta Narada reference, but you're right. It does kind of look like mini space suits people.
Yeah, it kind of did. That's what I kind of, I kind of went back to Silence in the Library and what they, what the people looked like after they were attacked. And that's kind of what the little robot looked like. So that's,
which is kind of funny, and I never thought about this, but that actually is a throwback almost to Scooby-Doo, because there was a Scooby-Doo monster that was a skeleton in a spacesuit.
Oh yeah.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, because it was one of the, I'm not sure, it was one of the Scooby-Doo cartoons before they got rid of Fred and Daphne, toward like into the 90s. So this was like during the 80s, but I can remember in the, maybe it was the new Scooby-Doo Mysteries or something, but it was that opening of Scooby-Doo, and there was a skeleton in a spacesuit that I remember. And I don't know why, but I've never thought about that until now.
I'd forgotten about that until you just mentioned it. But yeah, you're exactly right.
So, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I also love, from these opening shots of the woman walking in the field, as well as when she got to the structure, just the look of the world was absolutely beautiful. I saw some behind the scenes showing the actual place they went to film this, and it is a real place. It's not out in the field, but it is a very, very beautiful structure, and I thought it was excellent. So I really loved how the look of this episode started.
Yeah, me too. And I didn't know this, but they actually did I didn't know this at first, and I was on the Cultum commentary the other night, and I think it was Ian that said that this place, I think, is somewhere in Spain, and really? They did not have to do any type of aesthetic changes or anything. That's actually what that building looks like if you were to go inside.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
So we saw the Vardy, and we saw I call them, they look like gnats at first. So they quickly, we find out, become the bad guys, or they're what's going on, or they're whatever is bad that's going on. So where we see all of this happening, and we see Bill and we see the Doctor interacting, and I found it very refreshing that you had still in this, pretty much the whole story, it's organically telling some of the things like the two hearts and the stealing of the... What do you think about that?
It definitely, again, Bill asking all the questions we want to know. If we go back to the beginning of the episode when they first walk out into the field, that brown, golden looking field with just a blue TARDIS sitting out there, which I thought looked fantastic. She asks him again, why is this thing still a police box? And I think that played a little bit into the episode later when she reads the sign on the police box. But, just again, how refreshing it is to have Bill on the show ask all these questions we want to know. And I've asked you the same question, which we talked about in the last episode. Why is it still a police box? So, again, she's just doing all the things, being our surrogate, to being a surrogate to us for the show. What about you, Angie? Did you like some of the small things we got throughout the show, little nods?
Well, one of the things that she said during that scene, which I agree with you, Clarence, that was an amazing shot, which is the blue TARDIS in the field like that. I really loved it. One of the things that she said, do you like it like that? I can't remember exactly what led up to it. Yeah. The Doctor said, who says I like it like, who says I like it? I've never thought about it until now. It's okay. So is he unhappy with the police box, appearance? That's just never occurred to me until she said that. And I thought, wow, that's a great question. And, is your blood pressure high?
Right.
It was great.
When she finds out he has two hearts, things like that. That's just really, I just love that about her. She's just so, just genuine and quirky. I just love it.
So to ask my Doctor Who historians on hand here, I have a question for you guys. Was it always the case that it was stuck in that form, or was that something that came later to try to explain why it is a police box?
So who's taking that one? Let's do the ladies first.
Well, you can correct me, but because I'm not honestly not really sure, but I think that it's always been a police box. And am I correct on that?
You are correct, with the minor exception that there was one story that happened. I think it was the remembrance of the Daleks, resurrection, not the Daleks, remembrance of the Cybermen, or some kind of. There was a Cyberman story with the Sixth Doctor, and again, this is one of those. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he fixed it just during that episode, and it was like a piano or some kind of something that was actually back in the I Am Foreman junkyard that he materialized in. But he did fix it, I believe, for that episode, but I think by the end of the episode it was broken again, and it's been the police box ever since.
Huh, interesting.
And we also know that it gets stuck in the shape of a diner as well, or can get.
Yes.
So getting back to these, the whole, I guess, point of the episode, the emotions, the smile. What do you guys think of those emotional indicators that were kind of lodged on their backs? And first of all, whoever came up with that idea was insane, because to have these robots react to your emotions, I guess if they're nice robots, it's a good thing. But I mean, I guess we quickly see what happens when it goes awry. What do you guys think of the look of that and how it gave us different perspectives throughout the episode?
That's a good one.
Honestly, when they were talking about, it had the little, the little circle you fixed where you couldn't see it yourself.
Yeah.
And they how they explain that. Well, if you can see it yourself, then you kind of automatically try. No, I can change it.
Yeah.
And speaking from, and I think I'm gonna throw our whole gender under the bus here, but a woman's, speaking from a woman's point of view, we can kind of, flip a switch sometimes, that quick. So I kind of understood that, why it would be. I said, oh, that makes a lot of sense, why they would do that. So I thought it was kind of brilliant.
I found it interesting. Number one, that it was on their back, that you couldn't, see it. It was seen from the back, and a question was posed that I heard, which was, why was it on the back? For what purpose did they send it to the back? Wasn't it on the back of the robots? That's where didn't they have a yellow emblem or yellow emoji thing on their back as well, or am I remembering that wrong?
I don't remember that, but I could be wrong. I don't remember that, because I think they just had the face. But go ahead, Angie.
And it may not be.
It seems like they did, but I may be, I may be wrong.
Yeah, they very well may have. So,
all right. Well, let me ask you this question, Clarence. I'll throw the question back at you and ask it this way, because this is something I'm curious about. If you can fake the emotion thing with a smile, then how true is the emotion thing in itself? Because it's really not then picking up an emotion, it's picking up a expression.
Yeah. Well, I think they weren't able to fake it, because even the woman at the opening scenes that told the woman coming off the field to smile, even she was trying to smile and she couldn't contain it, and she still got ultimately to her demise. So I mean, I think smiling, like even the doctor said it, smiling actually lightens your mood and makes you feel better. I don't know if that's some psychological study that's out there, but he kind of quoted that for a second there. So I think even if you're not genuinely sincere about it, smiling could have some effect on your emotional state, which I think that's what they were reading, more of your emotional state versus what's on your face.
And I could see that, because I've read that. I mean, I've read something similar that, yes, smiling creates, endorphins and, does give you a happier disposition, because it's something literally tied to smiles equal happy. So,
yeah. I definitely, but again, on the actual wearing the emojis on their back, I thought it provided some excellent scenes where they pan up to the actor's face, whether it's a doctor or a Bill, and then pan down to their emoji and like kind of give you the other view of what the doctor is really thinking. Which, if you know the doctor, you can see it on his face. Kind of some of the scenes where he's questioning his theory that the colony is going to be populated later, and then it kind of panned down to his emoji, and he's just like a puzzled look. I thought that was really fantastic. So
did anybody else laugh about his eyebrows on his emoji?
Yes.
It had the eyebrows.
Yeah, that was pretty great.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and answer my question and say, yes, I did. So you two will not be embarrassed to answer this question, hopefully. But having said that, yes, I did like I said, before I ask it. But did either of you find yourself subconsciously smiling at any point during this episode?
Oh, I'll let you take it first, Angie.
I did. I did. I actually caught myself smiling. And, yeah, because I think it was kind of an involuntary response. Which, you've got all the great, scenes going on and the great, back and forth between, Bill and the doctor too. But I mean, there was just something about, the emojis and all that. Yeah, I caught myself smiling. I really did.
Okay, so that's 2 out of 3. So you're going to make it unanimous?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's subconsciously, but I know the few times I really smiled. One is when Bill took out her phone and took pictures. I thought that was crazy. The doctors just letting her do that. And the other is when they walked into the fertilization section, and the doctor had kind of already figured out what was going on. And, he picked up the locket. And he kind of knew something was bad, and he was, rerunning the theories he had proposed through his head again. And Bill comes in and says, "Great day out, huh?" or something like that. She was just smiling. I bust out laughing. Little does she know. So yeah, I do think I smiled quite a bit in this episode as well.
So we see when they finally do get around to finding the human part of the ship. And at first, the doctor's thinking, okay, they've killed everyone and everyone's gone, and then, these things must be destroyed, et cetera, and so forth. The visuals of the non-robot versus the human created, it was amazing to me how dingy it was.
Stark difference, which, it makes a lot of sense what the doctor said. Okay, this was built by the hands of man, and the other part was built by the nanobots, or whatever you call them. So, it made a lot of sense, though it probably was just, it's cheaper to find a factory to shoot this part in. So, but I really enjoyed the contrast there.
All right, so Angie, tell me what you thought about, when you first saw the little boy show up. What did you think he was? I'm not going to ask, did you think he was this or that? What did you think he was? Did you take him for what he was, or what did you think he was?
Well, at first it kind of shocked me. I thought, did he have something to do with this whole thing? Was he kind of, you always kind of say that, okay, is he like the catalyst of all this, or, and then I realized, he probably just woke up early.
Yeah.
Because I'm always trying to speculate, oh, this is, this means this. And then I'm just like, oh, well, maybe it's just that he woke up early. But then, I had remembered, the doctor, he had the locket and everything. And I was just like, oh, so he's related to, he's gonna find out somebody, close to him is gone. So.
Well, they did say when they entered into the spaceship part that it started firing up a bunch of systems that were, reacted when a human walks in or whatever. So maybe that triggered him waking up, as well as I think the other guy that woke up at the time. So yeah, it did kind of, I ain't gonna say scare me. It was shocking a little bit because I was expecting another robot. So, but yeah, even before that, when the doctor tried to leave Bill in the TARDIS, I want to ask you guys, has that ever happened before? We tried to go out and have an adventure and just leave his companion in the TARDIS? to do something while he's actually off having fun?
Oh yeah, back in the old days, watch any of the Sixth Doctor's era, and I wouldn't. I'll put it this way: I would not have wanted to have traveled with the Sixth Doctor.
Wow.
Because I mean, his personality was so in contrast to the others in the sense of, it was a lot actually like Capaldi's Doctor, but more to an extreme in a sense of, okay, don't irritate me. I'm doing something. I'm the Doctor. Do what I say, and keep going. Case in point, in his first episode post regeneration, the companion that he was with, Perry, he actually tried to strangle her in the first episode.
Oh God!
Wow.
So, and just as a side note, we get to meet both that version of the Doctor and Perry at WHOLanta next weekend, which is very darn cool.
Yeah, we're going to hold them to task for that.
Yep. But I do have to say this about, and I'm not saying it just because we're going, but this is actually, true. You go back and you read anything about, the Sixth Doctor's era. Yes, that portrayal was a little more, hard-nosed version of the Doctor, but he being Colin Baker, actually wanted to stay and hopefully surpass the tenure of Tom Baker. But alas, there were some internals going on at the BBC, and then his tenure got cut so short that he didn't even have a regeneration scene.
Yeah, our friends, I guess, that we're gonna maybe hook up with at WHOLanta, is it Mark Who 42?
Yes,
name of the
Mark
show?
Who 42.
Yeah, now they actually interviewed the woman, I can't remember her name.
Nicola Bryant.
Yeah, they interviewed her, and they actually talked about why she left and why that kind of all ended badly. It was very interesting. So I would suggest anybody go check that out. It was a couple episodes back from them, but it was a pretty good conversation with her.
So without getting too much into I want their episode to be their episode, but just in a layman's terms, what was your interpretation of why she or he left?
It felt like it was an upper management thing or a showrunner thing. Kind of felt like that's what it all boiled down to. But what do you think it is?
All right. So, Angie, are you familiar with this story?
Very vaguely. So,
okay. So there is
to you guys.
So there is a villain in Doctor Who lore called Michael Grade, and he has never appeared on a version of Doctor Who. A funny joke, though, in our episode where I did the villains, or when we ranked our top villains, I actually included him in the cover art as one of the Doctor Who villains. But Michael Grade is actually like a BBC controller, like the head of NBC or the head of CBS. He had a similar or the same position at the BBC. Well, he pretty much was responsible first for there being like a 18-month, 24-month gap between Colin Baker's first season and Colin Baker's second season. And ironically, his second and only season that he had, literally Doctor Who was on trial with the BBC at the time. Hence, the entire span of that season, the overall arc of that season is called Trial of the Time Lord. No, all jokes aside, seriously, there were crazy. There were three. It was a 12 episode, overall story, but it had told in three parts. So it was like three mini stories. But the trial took that whole season, and at the end of the season, the only way that he would agree to bring Doctor Who back was Colin Baker had to leave, and then Sylvester McCoy came in to play the seventh Doctor. Colin Baker wouldn't come back for the regeneration scene, and I honestly don't blame him. But the regeneration scene that we do see on TV, Sylvester McCoy plays both the sixth Doctor, and because you can't see his face, and then of course he plays himself as the seventh Doctor. But why was all this going on? If I remember correctly, I believe that Colin Baker had either recently had a divorce or was going through a divorce, and the person that he was divorcing from was related to Michael Grade. Ding, 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 ding.
Wow.
So
blood runs deep.
Yep. And such a tangle web we weave.
Wow.
When we practice in time and relative dimensions in space.
Right.
Thank you, Professor.
You're welcome.
So, I guess we could jump back into the episode a bit. So what do you guys think about when Bill read the sign on the TARDIS? And I know, Kyle, you just posted a picture on Instagram of this actual sign that you had printed out.
Excuse me. Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So I guess she kind of derives from that he's like a space policeman or intergalactic policeman or whatever, which I thought was pretty funny. But yeah, she goes back and tries to help the Doctor. And the next scene of them together is probably the only time that I remember, other than maybe early on with Rose, of just somebody being in awe of the Doctor, because she actually said something about "you're my professor" or something, and she's just it looks like she's just totally in awe of who he is. What do you guys think of those scenes?
Angie, take it. I've been talking for 10 minutes. You take that one.
I got that too, and she was just calling him her tutor, and and things like that, and just that sense of wonder, that she kind of approaches everything, in the episode, or so far in the series. She's just so enamored, I guess, with with everything that she's seeing and with everything that he's doing, and which he said himself, I'm the Doctor and I save people.
Yeah.
Maybe she's kind of not off the, not too far off the mark with that.
Yeah.
With that, that she said, and which when we were talking about earlier about him trying to keep her safe and telling her to stay in the TARDIS or telling her to stay at the map after he he's like, tell me where to go, and she's like, wait a minute, you've already memorized the map, haven't you?
Yeah,
which I start speculating on these kind of things, and going back to last week's episode, the pilot where he's trying to wipe her memory at the end of the episode, and and he keeps kind of doing all these things to to protect her. It's because I fully believe he kind of knows what's going to happen, and I don't believe that was the same version of the Doctor that appeared outside of the the school. That was a later version, I think.
Oh, really?
Or, that was a different. That was my take on it.
See, that was my take too, and I don't think you guys understood what I was asking last week. But yeah, that was my thought too. That because think about it, he was so angry when he was telling her, "Get out, get out, get out," leave, and then when she gets outside, he's like, "Come on, let's go," and the contrast there. So Angie, I agree with you there.
I thought that at first, but I thought maybe he just had a quick change of heart, because there's no way he could have been off having adventures and then came back all of a sudden and picked her up. But he did say he can go from anywhere in the future or past by the time to kill a bull, whatever. I know I said that wrong, but but he very well could have been off gallivanting and come back all of a sudden to pick her up. That is a possibility.
Yeah, you almost get that sense of it's like, okay, I know what's coming, and I'm going to stop it before it even starts. Trying to wipe her memory. And of course, she says, hey, how would you feel? Kind of, of course, I'm paraphrasing, and he does know how he would feel because he had that happen to him, so that kind of stopped him in his tracks. And, to me, every time he says, stay here memorize, or tell me where to go on the map, or things like that. And he's trying to keep her, out of harm's way.
Yeah.
And I know that that could just be, that could may not have any meaning. But then again, I keep going back to that and thinking, well, does he know something that we don't know?
Of course, he's the doctor.
Of course.
So I want to get on up to when the humans actually woke up. And so we see, obviously, other than the little boy, we start seeing them wake up. And there's this this guy with the beard that's like I don't know what his position was, but we're going to say the guy with the guns that's the hothead. So Clarence, what did you think of him?
I thought he was fine. I kind of don't blame him, as somebody that's waking up from a presumably long slumber and finding his people are being killed off by who are supposed to be their robots, which he even says. So I don't blame him much, but the doctor tries to settle the situation, which he doesn't do a very good job of.
So Angie, what did you think of him?
Yeah, well, I'm kind of, I agree with Clarence. And, the human nature is, kind of retaliation, or, oh, you hurt somebody near to me, or you killed somebody, I'm going to get you. That's kind of, that's kind of our human mentality. And, I thought one of the neat things was, these are some of the colonists, they talked about, the end of the world back with Eccleston, the second episode, where they're watching, the sun consume the earth. And, they were talking about the colonists, that all, they had to evacuate Earth, and they all had to go to different places. And that was neat that we got to see, that was kind of one of the, ships, or that's kind of, that's what I took out of it. That was one of the ships that, they had to evacuate Earth, and that was it brought me back, kind of to that episode to think about, okay, well, this is kind of what happened to one of them. And, so just, they were already in a bad situation, and, before they even went to sleep, because they had to evacuate their home. And so, I'm sure that was probably, they were probably already emotional, from that. And then, of course, they find this out, then, when they wake up, that their loved ones are being killed, when they thought that, the things that they had, put to making their new world, they're destroying them instead. And, I kind of understood where he was coming from with that. They were already emotional, and then it was like, we're going to go control something. We're going to go take them out. So that was, that was a good scene.
And I can see where both of you are coming from, but my take on that was, and maybe it was a little bit more cynical, but my take on that was, isn't it just like the human population that when they wake up, the first thing was mine and conquer, mine and conquer. Yeah. It's mine. Absolutely. And I'm going to conquer.
Yeah, I mean, which actually reminded me a lot of Arrival, which we reviewed at the end of last year sometime. But, in this situation, I kind of don't blame them because, these robots are killing off their loved ones. So I kind of give them a slight pass on that. But it's really, we're always gung ho to pick up some guns and try to blast our way through the situation.
Right.
It's interesting, Angie, that you mentioned the Eccleston era. In the episode An Empty Child, we had these robots that were actually able to reconfigure matter, and they created the Are You My Mummy child.
Right.
It makes me wonder that if those robots or nanobots or whatever and the Vardy are of the same or similar type of construction, because they do similar things.
It's funny you should say that, because like when the boy is walking and he says, "I want my mummy," or something, he says something
Mummy.
to that effect.
Yeah.
Are you my mummy?
I thought of that same thing, which is crazy.
Yeah, I actually went back because I couldn't remember what they called the organisms in the Empty Child, and I had to go back and I was like, were they called a Vardy or?
So what were they called?
Nanogenes.
Nanogenes. Okay.
Yeah, so that it was. I actually went back and looked because I'm just like you guys. I got that same, you know, reference back to that.
And maybe they were trying to do that. Do you think they were trying to make a larger statement? And I kind of just throwing this out there, but I really didn't think that about the episode. That they may have been trying to make a larger statement with the slave robots rebelling.
Well, the doctor did make reference to that, and he did talk about. He said, what do slave populations, ultimately do? They fight back, and yeah, I can kind of see that.
I took it more not necessarily of them revolting. I took it more of they evolved beyond their original intent. They gained a sentience. And, I think that I took it more of a comment on our own technology-centric world of ever-evolving technology as opposed to, a people themselves. Now, does that say I'm being cold by not thinking of the robots as people or beings? Perhaps. But I saw it more as the evolution of their technology beyond what they thought it was going to be.
Yeah, definitely very Black Mirror-ish kind of episode.
And it was compared
overall
to that.
Oh, really?
Yes, there was on Twitter. There was a lot of and not in a negative way from everything I've read, but there was a lot of I've watched Doctor Who on Black Mirror last night.
Might be why I enjoyed it so much.
Maybe so.
So I do have one huge problem with the resolution of this episode.
Reset.
So, he makes this big speech about, I guess he quotes some story, I don't know if it's real or not, about this reset and some 3 wishes. And, he resets the robots because he discovers they are sentient. They can learn. They're sentient. So my whole thing is, if you discover they're sentient, then you reset them. Aren't you destroying anything they've gained by becoming sentient? It's like one of the greatest rules in any sci-fi show. I think of Star Trek. I think of Commander Data. After 7 seasons, what would he be if you reset him? The EMH on Voyager, after 7 seasons, what would he be if you reset him?
And they even went so far in Voyager to do an episode about that, remember?
Yes, several of TNG as well. So the fact that he just reset them and that was the resolution, I thought that was kind of clumsily done.
Okay, here's my argument to that on top of that, which is... with that reset, and he tells them about the reset, what's to prevent the reset from happening again? By the humans going in and resetting them.
I don't know if I gathered this.
Well, if he says, I pressed the reset button, well, that does. What's to say 2 generations from now, and they don't like what the robots are doing, they go in and mash the button again.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like the fact that he's trying to make them work together from that point forward, but this just something about the whole reset, and it seems like it was clearly thought out because we had a whole speech, like I said, but I think that was kind of just clumsy on the part of whoever wrote the show.
All right, so overall. I think, you said what you thought of the last episode, so ladies first again. Angie, what did you, and I hope I'm not jumping here, but Clarence, did you have anything else on the episode you wanted to cover?
That's about it, other than how how funny it was to see the doctor smile or fake a smile most of the episode. I thought was pretty great, but other than that, I think we covered everything.
Cool.
He was scary when he smiled.
Yeah,
yes, he was.
Great.
All right, so Angie, what did you think of the episode on a 1 to 5 for Smile?
I think again, I really loved it overall. I'm just enjoying the whole, just the whole freshness and just the whole newness of, of the new series and Bill and everything. I mean, so I'm going to stick with, I'm going to say it's a 5. It's a solid 5 for me, even though, I understand where Clarence is coming from with the end of it. Maybe it would have been better, if they had, maybe just kind of, made the, made the robots forget them without doing a full reset. Instead of, kind of like the Daleks they forgot, the Doctor at one point, maybe something like that rather than, destroying the sentience, like he's talking about. But overall, I mean, I really did like it. I thought it was very well done.
All right, Claire.
And all the funny part, all the little, the one-liners. I mean, and think about it. Most of this episode, it was just the Doctor and Bill.
Yeah,
they carried, they pretty much carried the entire episode themselves, and they did a great job with it.
Certainly.
So Clarence, what do you think?
I'll drop it around a 4. I really enjoyed it. I love the Black Mirror-esque aspect of it. Again, like we said last week, another episode that's great, I think, for anybody who's trying to get into Doctor Who for the first time. It's for us, it's a new enemy or whatever, but you don't have to know the history of the Daleks and all this stuff to actually get in the episode. It's a fresh, mostly standalone episode that you can just get in and watch and enjoy.
Okay.
What about you, Kyle?
So here's my thought. Last week, of course, it's been so long since we've had Doctor Who that I had plenty of things to talk about with it. This week, I found myself, regardless of how much I enjoyed it, when it came to the actual story behind what was going on with the characters, I found it hard to even make notes or anything to, talk about because there wasn't a lot of story going on. I mean, you had a lot of interaction, but you didn't have a lot of story. So for the interaction part of it between Bill and the Doctor, I'm going to give it a 4.5. I think on the Cult gave it another 5, but after seeing it, again and watching it again, I'm going to bring that down just a little bit to a 4.5, mainly because of the enjoying of the interaction with Bill and the Doctor. So 4.5 for me.
Yeah, which is funny that you said that because even as sparse as this episode was as far as content of an actual plot and stuff, it has way more than the first episode to me. Way more. So I enjoyed it. I liked it.
Well, it was a lot more of that, it was a lot of relationship development between the Doctor and the companion. It was a lot of, Bill and Bill and the Doctor getting to know each other and kind of, and just kind of setting that groundwork, I think, a lot, between the two of them, but I think it really worked well.
Totally agree.
All right. Well, good deal. Well, Angie, I just want to say on behalf of myself, Clarence, and Lee, who is, by the way, I never even mentioned that Lee wasn't with us tonight, but I guess everyone has figured that out from saying it last week that Lee wasn't going to be with us. Just want to say thank you again for joining us.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, Clarence, anything else you're working on?
Nothing, man, but the same old, same old. Visit techpedition.com for your tech geek news / all that type of stuff. Anime, Dragon Ball Z. That's techpedition.com, TechPedition.com.
All right, good deal, good deal. Well, we had a recording of Doctor Who Podshock the other night on Friday, so that should be out soon. So go to podshock.net to find that. And on behalf of everyone at Discussing Who, we are out of here.
You've been listening to the Discussing Who podcast. Discussing Who is made by fans for fans. No copyright infringement is intended. Show us you're fans of the show by liking us on Facebook, following us on Twitter. You can find us on the web at www.discussingwho.com. Want more Discussing Who? Find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, Player FM, the Doctor Who Podshock Alliance, and more. Send us your feedback to discussingwho@gmail.com, or if you'd like, simply record a voice message and send that to us via your smartphone, tablet, or computer. We want to hear from you.